I love it.
Hello. And
Hi.
I Hi, and I was gonna say, like, no worries ever about technology because it's not a live call. If you can't find the link, you can't get logged in time, something doesn't crash, the sound doesn't work. And oh my gosh, I want to ask you so many questions, but let's just start now that we're live. If you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself, because we're going to be popping on each other's walls, I'm sure, and some people might not know us.
Yeah,
So, who are you?
sure. I am. Wow, that is a question,
Deep
isn't it?
question. Going
All
deep
right.
from the get
Hmm.
go.
Let's start with the easy stuff. So I'm Kimberly Winters. I uh, I have a company called Did You Bring the Hummus? It's a podcast and a coaching service, and I offer healing services because I also do Reiki and angelic and Yasui. So it's nice to be able to blend those two healing modalities together. Um, but my coaching is focused all around helping people go vegan. It's a huge passion of mine. And I went vegetarian first in 2001, and I've been vegan now since I think like 2015.
Nice.
And it's just the thing that lights me up more than anything else.
So
And
beautiful.
yeah, I just love it. I want everybody to know about it.
Yes. And, I think that we're definitely getting so many more people now that want to go vegetarian or vegan. And there's not a lot of people out there that I see that are providing good education on it, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so much bad education about veganism,
Hmm. Yeah.
really bad education. So thank you for introducing yourself. And I just want to say I'm so delighted that you decided to hop on this with me and
Me
have a
too.
conversation because I love you. I think you're
Love you.
wonderful.
Right back at you.
So, just in case you don't know me, I'm Safrianna Lughna. I'm the queer spirit guide, quantum creatrix, intuitive healer, and divine channel, and I'm co-founder of Living Luna. And my passion in the world is helping people live their most authentic lives, whatever that looks
Mm.
like. And because I'm me, I mainly serve LGBTQIA and their allies and polyamorous folks. But I see all kinds of people. And honestly, most people come to work with me because they're like, I know you're not going to judge me. I saw your webpage. I know you're not going to judge me. Speaking of not judging, as I was getting on this call, I was like, never did I think in my history with all the personal stuff I've gone through that I was going to get on a live call on the fly, no editing, in a tank top because it's
Yeah,
hot.
good
And
for
I'm like,
you.
this is new me.
Yeah.
So, oh gosh, I know we named this episode Plant Mamas Unite, which obviously you are a plant mama in the way that like you live and breathe veganism and teach people about it. But I'm curious, like, do you have house plants? Do you garden? Like, what's your plant relationship? Because I love plants.
So I love plants too, and that is why I don't have any house plants.
As you say that, I'm like, it's a really good point because several of mine are not doing so good. I try so hard.
Yeah, me too. And I must say, it's not just me because our house doesn't really get a lot of really good natural light except in the winter. And even then, it's not that great. In the summertime, we have so much tree cover that we have to use the lights in the middle of the day sometimes. So the plants, they can't make it here. They just can't.
Yeah, I have this is the only room I have plants in actually, and none of them can be seen on camera. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in here. But my cats eat them if they see them. My cats will not eat a plant. So because they're hungry all the time.
Of course, as cats
Um,
are.
so I try to be a very good plant mom and keep them well, but houseplants are really, really hard.
They are.
And I'm so totally a tree mom. We had a tree in our backyard that people were gonna it was saying we were gonna have to take down, and I was like, I'm gonna talk to some people before we bring this tree down. And fortunately, we were able to trim it,
Nice.
survived. So glad. But yeah, like, tell me about what are some of your favorite plants?
Hmm. Well, as you were talking about the tree in your yard, I was thinking about there's a small evergreen in my backyard, and it was really small when we moved here about 7 years ago, and I just loved it and I wanna say him. I loved him
Mm.
from the minute we moved in, and he's just grown, and he's still small. He's right next to a shed too, so I can really see the change in how much he's grown, and he just gets this beautiful, like, blue-gray growth when
Mm.
he's growing new pine needles, and I just love him, and I love looking out my back window and just enjoying him and all his treeness.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trees are such beloved companions. And I feel like I was so glad when we started to have people like, oh, I'm so bad with names. Samard, Susan Samard, I believe is her name, and Mark Wollenberg. I'm butchering his last name because it's German. But like these tree experts coming out and talking about the mycorrhizal networks and how the trees are communicating and these
Mhm.
mother trees and whatnot. There's so much about the plant kingdom that we don't understand, just like we don't understand about the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So trees trees are just they do so much for us.
I know, right? And they're so beautiful and they're so also different. Like we've got some evergreens here, but then we also have really tall, like walnut trees and oak trees. And so with the walnut trees, like the nuts, they fall off onto the car. So like
Yep.
we both have like little dents all
Oh,
over, like tiny, tiny from them dropping from so high.
oh gosh.
The
Yeah,
squirrels love
I'm
it.
I'm sure they do. I'm so glad we had this tree trimmed like literally last week because we had a windstorm here and all the branches on the neighbors' trees came down. I was like, thank
Mm,
goodness we did this right when we did because they need a hair trim every now
they
and then too.
do, just like us.
So, oh gosh, like there's so many things I want to talk to you about. So many things. I'm like, what thread do we pull out of the ether to follow? Because, Plant Mamas, of course, was just getting us started as a theme here. There's no real agenda. We're just kind of talking. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about these soul connection calls is we're just kind of going with whatever is. I'd love to hear about, because you are like me, you're a healer, you have healing circles, you know, help people with energy work. And I'm so curious if you're willing to share any of like the story of your personal journey and kind of getting to know why that was where you wanted to go. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, I look back and at 18 was when I got into the spirit world, but I never would have thought it was going to become like my career.
Mhm. Absolutely. From the time I was small, I was, I guess, an atheist, really, and I would be so bored at church. And we weren't like a super religious family. My parents both went to Catholic school, my dad all the way even through high school, but, we didn't really wasn't a huge part of our life, but sometimes my mom would take us to church, and I would just be like, "Oh, I'm so bored, like, I've got better stories at home, like, this
Oh
none
my
of this is
gosh.
real," and my mom was, like, so embarrassed, right? Because, of course, I'm little, so I'm not being quiet about it,
No.
and and I just really fought and fought against this whole idea that there's a God or something bigger, and I was like, "When we die, that's it, and, like, too bad if you didn't get done what you needed to get done," kinda thing. It just goes
Oh,
dark after, and I was so adamant, and I wouldn't listen to people who are like, "But wait, what about? How about this?" But at the same time, I believed in ghosts. I had no problem with understanding that, like, energy just kind of changes. It doesn't really go away. That felt right to me. And as I got into college, I was a philosophy major, I started to think, I don't even think it matters if God exists or not.
mm,
But because it wasn't changing my life, it didn't change how I decided to show up in the world. But at the same time, I also felt really connected to the universe and
mhm,
to nature, to animals, to that feeling of energy, and I just couldn't explain why any of that made sense to me on a very,
mm,
like, deep inside level, I guess.
yeah.
And I had always really been drawn to, like, the symbol like, the pentacle, and I felt like so earthy, and I'm a Virgo, and so there's an earth sign, and I don't know, that symbol just always meant something to me even when I couldn't explain it. So I started doing research because I love to learn, and I just started to feel like, huh, maybe that kind of stuff makes sense to me, but I never did anything with it. And then in 2020, my soul cat passed away.
Oh,
Yeah. She was 16. She had been sick. We did everything that we could for her, but it, still gutted me, and I'm
oh,
still, dealing with it. But it was in that moment that I lost her that I immediately thought, there cannot be a world that exists where she does not exist anymore. This
mm.
perfect little cat has to be somewhere, somehow. And
I might cry on this call today, and that's fine because we are in the authentic
that's
moment.
right.
Cats, and
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But yes, no world where the spirit is
Yeah,
not. Yeah.
right. And I had done Reiki training with 2 friends of mine, like level 1 Usui Reiki training the year before. And I thought, this is really cool. I was really like wowed by how much feeling I had in my hands and could feel like flowing through me, but I didn't really do anything with it. But
Mm.
after losing Cookie, I started to kind of piece things together. And I just spent, 2 years really, like, diving into things like the wheel of the year and connecting with the moon and just nature as a whole, and starting to really understand how I felt about all of that. And so when, February 22nd, 2022 came about, I thought, "Well, I've gotta do something for this. This is such a special date. These numbers feel so powerful." And that's when I launched my healing circle. And here we are a little over a year later, and I
That is
love it. I
so
love it.
cool.
Thank you.
That date, that 22222, that's when
Mhm.
our Cat Tuesday showed up
Oh.
and changed like the entire trajectory of our little family unit. It
Hmm.
was so interesting. And we don't have to get into that, but um so you've only been doing these healing circles for a year.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
like, it seems like you've been doing them forever. I don't know why, but like I'm just like, she's been doing this forever.
It
Like
feels
that's just
that
what
way
she
for me.
does.
Yeah, it feels that way for me too, because it feels so right and so
Yeah.
aligned with what I want to help people with, how I want to show up in the world. And it's just an hour, like twice a month, and we do lots of grounding and cord cutting. Then we'll do a quick like visualization or meditation, have a little talk about the moon or about a holiday if we're near one of the wheel of the year holidays. And then I end the session with about 20 minutes to a half hour of angel reiki. And
That's
we do it
awesome.
on Zoom. So if 8 o'clock at night works for your time zone, it doesn't matter where you are. You can
Yeah,
join me.
that's the cool thing about this digital age
Hmm.
now. I last year um was just doing in-person circles. So I was just doing in-person wheel of the year circles. And when I'm not going to call it a contract, when that contract ran out, I had made an agreement with a local church that I was going to run them.
Hmm.
So when that was up, I was like, I do love doing this, but I only reached a couple of people in this small local church community. What could I do if I offer it online? And
Yeah.
the ability to hold space, some of us really have this gift to hold space no matter where people are in time and space. And to be able to offer that kind of healing at a distance is so empowering, and it's just so needed because
Hmm.
not everyone has access to it, like down the street where they can go to a healing shop and
Right.
have that.
Yeah.
So yeah, my sacred moon circle is still finding its footing. It's still birthing itself. I think I'm sensing I'm going to get a lot more clarity this month on it, actually. The 4/4 portal is the augur portal. And to me, that energetically is like the divine empath template instead of the false empath template, which is really firming our boundaries with codependency, right?
Mm.
Like knowing where we start and where other people start, or where we end and other people begin. And I think I'm still feeling into that with my own offers myself. So I'm so encouraged by seeing people like you doing what you're doing and having these healing circles and whatnot, because it just shows like times are changing a little bit. And this is something that people want and need.
Yeah.
And I just love that there's a variety of people offering it so people can really feel into who's that right fit for them to
Mhm.
do
So
this sort of
important.
deep work with.
Yeah.
So important. I'm leaving the trauma therapy world, and almost every single client that walked into my office, digital or in person, would tell me like I was about to give up on
Mm.
doing my healing work until I met you, because your energy is what I needed. And like that's the message I always want
Yeah.
people to hear, is like whether it's healing, coaching, a healing circle, therapy, a doctor, your realtor, like connection and human to human, like that resonance is so
Mhm.
important to do whatever we're going to do in the highest alignment.
Absolutely.
What kinds of people do you tend to find want to work with you?
So I've found that I guess lately it's really been people processing something,
Mm,
going through health issues. And they're not coming looking to find like read my cards and tell me if I'm going to be okay kind of thing. They just want to be in that energy.
we just need more healing spaces.
Mhm.
We need more communal spaces. I mean, I know you work with some energetics and you work with the moon and whatnot. So I don't know if you're seeing this lately, but I have seen so many rifts in community
Mhm.
lately.
Yeah.
Collective, just this collective trauma coming forward and families falling apart. And like, no
Yeah.
wonder they just want to feel held and supported.
Yep.
Sometimes that's all we need.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always offer at different points of the healing circle if anyone wants to share, because we do meditations or visualizations that connect us to our higher selves. We actually ask questions to our higher selves, and some people I see them, they open their eyes and they're suddenly like journaling like crazy, and they then they're really excited, and some of them want to share. But what I'm finding lately is even those who are suddenly frantically uh journaling, they like can't seem to write fast enough, everything
Hmm.
coming in. They just want to then move into the Reiki to start processing. They don't need
Yeah,
to share it verbally. They know that we're there supporting them and we're all sharing this collective energy, and they just go right into it. And then maybe a few days later I'll hear from them and they'll just let me know like that was so amazing and I got
that's
so many
awesome.
answers, or I've connected with someone in a way that I've never been able to connect before, and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, my favorite shares when people do share are always what came up in the guided visualization, because I
Mhm.
your framework sounds very, very similar to kind of the way I approach it. I usually do some intention and some energy clearing, and then we go into a visualization, and then we do some journaling and processing afterwards as well. I love hearing what people see.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's like the coolest thing in the world. We're like, oh, I saw this green swirling vortex and a giraffe emerged. And I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
I'm I have aphantasia. I don't know if
Okay.
you're familiar with what that is, and in case anyone watching doesn't know what that is, basically when I close my eyes and I try to picture something, I can't see anything.
Hmm.
Um, it's a small percent of the population. And it's actually a spectrum. So some people have like that full visualization, like they see the movies behind their eyes when they go in and they imagine. And then there's people who are completely blank, and then there's people I can kind of see silhouettes sometimes. So I love hearing what other people experience, because then I get to experience it in the word form, because I
Mhm.
can feel it and I feel things and I sense things. I'm so curious, like, have you interfaced, having been raised in a church and then being like, this isn't for me? Like, did you ever interface with any other spiritual communities? Or did you just kind of leap into your own thing?
Yeah, no. I just the occasional visits to church that my mother insisted I do, but that was it. I never. sought out another community or any other kind of spiritual group at all, because like I said, I was so like atheist. I decided that was what I was doing, so I pushed all of that away. Yeah.
Yeah. It's on one hand, I think it's really good. Like that has made sure that you don't have these like shackles of how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I unfortunately, when I was getting into healing work and shamanic journey work and just like these deeper spiritual practices, I was told by practitioners that I was doing it wrong because I couldn't see in my mind. And that's why I think it's so important that we have these open circles where people can be authentic and where we share that everyone experiences stuff differently.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to get something different out of, these sorts of experiences. So we
Yeah.
just need more acceptance.
We do. And I've attended other Reiki circles, and people who are leading them will then share, while I was working on you, I saw this, I felt that, I watched this happen. And
Mm-hmm.
when I lead the healing circles, you're not going to get that from me, because very often I don't see much. I might feel something. When I am experiencing something, it usually comes across in a smell. Yeah.
Do you have that weird, I can never remember the
Me
actual
neither.
name of it.
Yeah, Claire Olfactory or something.
Sentient, I
Yeah,
don't know.
Claire Sentience. Is it that one? I'm not sure, but yeah.
Clairolience. I think it might be
It
clairolience.
might be, yeah. And that's why it doesn't stick, right? Because it just doesn't seem like, is that
It doesn't
really a
roll
word?
off the tongue.
Yeah. But I was doing a session once, and it was like I was swimming in a sea of licorice. The smell was so strong, and I don't like licorice. And I was like, I wonder if that's not for me. And at the end, I asked the person, and I don't always do that either. If it feels like there might be a message, then I'll share it. But if it's not clear enough, then I don't. But I said, does licorice mean anything to you? Because for most of the session, it was really strong. And they said, oh, my grandmother always smelled like licorice.
Ah.
Yeah. And so it was like kind of a nice moment
Ah.
for them. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I've only recently started really, last year, deep diving like the clairs. And I'm finding learning my blueprint from like a lot of different angles. So like a body of 9 has been tremendous for me. And it's like one of my soapbox topics. I'm a natural number 9. I think everyone should know their natural number. It changes relationships. If anyone wants more details, including you, I'm glad to give them. But learning I was a natural number 9 helped me open my intuition because I understood where in my body to pay attention to it. But my human design as well, I'm a responder. And I kind of total fluke how this happened. Last year, January, I joined this program called the Starseed Mystery School with Saoirse Claire McGovern. And it was because I took like a free lead gen event masterclass. And I was like, this is really good. This is really good. And I was like, I've never heard these things said before to me. And I needed to hear it right then, because she was very like, you have the answers in you. And no spiritual person had ever told me that before. And I was like, and so I put in my head, like, okay, if this course costs under this number, because when you go to a free masterclass, you're going to get the pitch at the end.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if this is under this price point, I'm gonna take the leap. And it was like right under it. So I took the leap. Now I'm a coach for her. Literally like have been doing live calls for her since September. But in September, she was having surgery, so she wasn't going to be able to take any live calls because she's literally having jaw surgery. Can't talk, can't channel. She's a channel, and I subtype as her same like kind of cosmic imprint. She calls them starchetypes. And so, yeah, I love it too. And Creatrix, that's where I learned Creatrix. So I'm a Creatrix core imprint, but then a Clarion sort of subtype, and she's a Clarion core type. And I'm like, okay, I have to embody my Clarion for these calls because I'm kind of like her substitute teacher right now, right?
Yeah.
And I love doing card readings for people. So one day at the end of a call, I wrapped up the coaching call because they're like group coaching calls. I wrapped up like 10 minutes early. I'm like, hey, I've got a deck of cards here. Does anyone want a reading? And of course, everyone's like,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And I always just do one card pulls for group calls because anything
Right.
more would be so much. Oh,
Hours.
we might hear baby cat here in a moment.
Oh.
I hear her howling up the stairs. So that's Tuesday, the 222 cat. Uh, as I was started pulling cards, I was like, I'm not going to sit here and read the book, live on the call, which I would normally do if I'm like reading for somebody and like sending them a little write up. So I'm like, I'm just going to respond
Mm-hmm.
like my human design to the image on the card and whatever feeling is coming up in the moment. And holy shit, if that is not how I work. It was like this massive discovery because all of a sudden I started getting feedback. Oh my God, this is so accurate. How could you get that off of, pulling this one card? That's exactly what I needed to hear. And it was just this like huge, oh my gosh, weight lifted. Like, I do have the answers in me.
Yeah. That's right.
I don't need the book. So, these like intuition unlocking moments and those moments of affirmation, like that licorice story,
Mm-hmm.
it's so cool because, I mean, if you grew up going to church, I imagine that your intuition was not really a thing that was talked about, supported, brought up,
Right. No.
addressed.
No.
Yeah, mine definitely wasn't. I just wrote a blog post. I have taken the kid gloves off lately. Like, I'm on a rampage against the entire system that exists in the world right now. And so I decided to do this April Fool Tarot blog series. And I just came right out in the first blog post. And I was like, I was told if I looked at tarot cards that I was going to go to hell. And I was terrified as a child. And that should not be how anyone feels.
Right.
They're literally cards.
Yeah.
We make the tools do what we want them to do. The tools don't. Like, yes. I
Yeah.
could soapbox about gun violence right now, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. Right there with
any
you.
any
Mhm.
tool can be good or bad in the wrong hands. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, again, I think it's kind of cool that you didn't have a lot of that like spiritual, this is how you have to do it.
Mhm.
This is the one way. I am so sad though that you figured it out because of your cat.
I know. Oh gosh. It
I
was
mean,
uh
we all have spiritual awakenings, often from grief,
yeah.
loss, separation. I mean, mine was running away. Was the first one.
Mm.
Second one was a really nasty divorce.
Mm.
So, like, yeah,
Yeah.
not super happy.
No. No. But I don't know. I feel like not thankful for it because obviously if Cookie could live forever, I would
Yes.
want Cookie to live forever.
Cookie is living forever. I have faith.
Right. Yeah, in a different form, in a different
Yes.
way. And here in my heart always. But I'm so thankful for what I've learned about myself, what I'm capable of, and just this new connection I have with the universe.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Yeah.
there's that.
There is that. Yeah. I mean, I know if you asked me in my unhealed state if I was grateful, I would have been like, absolutely not. Right. But
Right.
now where I'm standing, I'm like, oh, I see exactly why I had to go through what I had to go through in order to be where I am today. And I wouldn't
Mhm.
trade who I am now for anything in the world, which
Yeah.
not a lot of people can say that yet. And I want everyone to be able to say that. I want
Me
everyone
too.
to be able to be like, I'm me and I love me and I'm doing me, and not from
Yeah.
I think we all get afraid that if we take care of ourselves, we're going to be selfish.
Mhm.
That's what we've been told. But in
Right.
reality, when we take care of ourselves, we can take care of others.
Mhm. And
not codependent way.
just by being cared for yourself, the people around you feel better because
Mhm.
you're showing up differently. And even if at first you're not changing anything about the way you're caring for them, just by you being different makes a huge difference.
Massive difference.
Yeah.
There's an energy to it.
Mhm.
And when we I'm not there's a lot of spiritual bypassing that happens in the spiritual community, of course, and I'm not about that life. I think that we need all vibrations. We need to
Mhm.
experience the high vibes and the low vibes because the low vibes help us skyrocket towards the high vibes.
Yeah.
Um, but like I think it's important that we're able to recognize it's not low vibe to take care of yourself. And
Yeah.
when you even if you're in that sad, grief, angry, whatever low vibe state, if you just pull back and tend to your own energy, you don't hurt anybody.
Mhm.
You're okay. You're allowed to feel those feelings. And when you reemerge and you've realigned, you invite other people to do the same and they go, "Oh, I don't have to take my shit out on everybody around me." What?
Right. What a
That's an
novel
option?
idea.
That's that's an option?
Yeah.
I tell you, being in the therapy world, some of the things that people don't know.
Mm.
Like I literally once upon a time had a client say, "I didn't know I could cancel family holidays if I'm not feeling up to it." I was
Yeah.
like, "Why do you feel like you have to have the family holiday?" "Well, everyone's going to be upset with me that I didn't do it."
Mm.
Then maybe they should host it, or maybe
Exactly.
you shouldn't hang out with them anymore, or maybe just anything that doesn't demean or diminish you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's hard to say no. And especially as, I don't know, in this time we're living, right? To say no, it's almost like, what do you mean you're saying no? Couple that with, I'm so glad there's like a phrase for it now, toxic positivity, which is what you were, talking about before. How can anyone expect to truly be healed if they are living by these ideas? If they feel so trapped by the people in their lives or what they've been taught and they can't see any other way, that they can't ever say no and nobody's allowed to have a bad day. It's like here in the US, somebody asks you, "Hi, how," so they say, "Hi, how you doing?" The expectation is you go, "Oh, I'm good," or "I'm
Mhm.
fine." But there are other areas in the world where when you say, "How are you doing?" They're gonna say, "You know what? I had the week from hell and I'm exhausted and I just can't take it anymore." And then you have a real conversation. But that's not happening so much here. And we
No,
see we see what it's doing to us.
I've actually started to model that with my clients a little bit.
Okay.
If they actually ask, I'll be like,
Yeah.
it's been a little bit of a rough week. Or I'm feeling really great, honestly. I love
Mhm.
the weather out or whatever. But just these little glimpses of like, we're allowed to be human.
Mhm.
We're allowed to be human. That no. I remember when my wife and I got together initially. I was I had left a really, really, really toxic relationship and was starting to kind of work on the codependency. We had to practice me saying the word no.
Mm.
And I sobbed. I
Aw.
sobbed because I'd never had permission to say no before.
Yeah.
And I think that there are so many people out there that are like
Yeah.
that they literally don't know that no is an option. They don't know that no is a complete sentence. They don't know that they can back out of something, even if they did say yes, that they can reassess and be like, you know what, on second thought, I changed my mind. No.
Mhm. Yeah.
We need to heal the world.
That's right.
But we're
One
doing that.
one circle at a time.
One circle at a time, one conversation at a time, one kitty pet at a time.
Right.
Whatever. Do you have cats now? I've got to know.
Yeah, yeah, we live with 3. Yeah. They all came in, and I have to wonder if they showed up when they did so that I did not just completely lose it when Cookie did pass.
Mm,
Because Daisy and Gus, they all 3 of them showed up on our back porch. there are a lot of people who let their cats out in this area and are not being responsible. And so they're making lots of babies. And so Daisy and Gus showed up, and Daisy was probably almost a year old, and Gus was like this big. We could hold him in our hand. I know. And they showed up on the back porch, and they didn't leave. They would sleep down the stairs on the back porch, and they were there for a couple days, and they were so. I mean, Gus was so young, but they were both so gentle and not feral appearing at all. And we're like, we're just going to trap them, and we were able to get them on the first try. Got them to the vet. They obviously hadn't been chipped. They didn't belong to anyone, so they were ours. And then Gemma, she actually lived on the back porch for a little over a year because
Wow.
she was older. She was probably about 3, roughly. And she was very much like, I live on my own. We'd see her in the trees, like she'd climb trees and sit on a branch, and she brought us many dead animals, which was very difficult to handle in this vegan household.
I could imagine.
And we thought there's no way she's going to adjust to living inside, but we trapped her, and we got her settled, and now she will spend all day on the couch cuddled up with my husband, fully just like he can move and she just moves with him. She
Aw.
doesn't, yeah, she has fully adjusted to living indoors, and she loves every minute of it.
Good. Sweet kitties.
Yeah.
I have 5 kitty
Aw.
children, but across 2 households. So 3 here, and that's Tuesday, Bane, and Quasi. And then Spookums and Kess are at my boyfriend's house. And it's so funny because it's like the households. There's the skittish household where they just run and they like peck their food and then they come back when they want more. And then this house where, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the call, everything is edible. And everything must be eaten. Tuesday likes to steal bread.
Oh.
She's one of those like vicious bread cats where you like we have to put the bread in the microwave or she will get it. But I love them. All 3 of them are like totally hangry 24/7. They tell us when it's breakfast, they tell us when it's dinner. I adore them.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that we have kitty children to
Me
love
too.
on. Because I know you and I share that we don't have children,
Right.
human children. So we have these beautiful fur babies. And
Yeah.
I have my beautiful plant babies that I'm trying to keep alive.
Fingers crossed.
Well, is there anything else you want to talk about today? Are you feeling complete?
I'm feeling complete. Yeah. How about you?
I'm feeling complete. I love leaving on a note of happy kitties.
Yeah.
So what better note to leave on than happy
Exactly.
kitties? We need more happy kitties in the world and more happy
Yes.
people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you followed along with this chat today, let us know in the comments. I've seen like literally there's had to be 12 people in here live. Just no one commented. So they must have been so enthralled with our conversation that they didn't feel the need to talk. But yes, I would love to continue these kinds of conversations with you, Kimberly, with you audience, whoever wants to have a talk. Happy 555, by the way, as we're wrapping our call here.
Perfect.
And I hope everyone has a beautiful rest of your day whenever you're watching this. And Kimberly, I hope we can keep catching up soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Safrianna. I loved this.
Awesome. All right. Well, bye for now.